Lance Stroll had the most embarrassing moment in his whole racing career when he crashed his car during the warm-up lap, and even though it looked like he might be able to get back on track and keep racing, he got his car stuck and made himself look really bad at driving. And since Aston Martin is already not doing very well, will the 2025 season make the team look for other drivers besides the son of the team owner? And if so, who would be the best choice to replace Lance before the new time period of Aston Martin starts? If there's one thing that's not clear in this sport, it's the question of why Lance Stroll still gets to race even though his dad owns the team. We've seen that Aston Martin has gotten much worse in the past couple of months, and at one race, they were even slower than Sauber for most of the race, which is something that should worry a lot of people. But what do you expect from a team that used the bottom part of their car that they used way back in Suzuka, going backwards months in how fast they were and throwing all their work in the trash, because they have no idea what's wrong with their car? This is something that not even Alonso can fix. Part of it is because of Lance Stroll's influence, who is doing nothing but embarrassing his team and his father as a driver because he doesn't give helpful advice about the car and he knows the position he's in. There's no need to worry as long as his father is the boss of Aston Martin, but now things have changed a lot. For example, the presence of Newey and Honda are changing the story about who's going to drive for them. It's really hard to believe that Newey would want to work with a driver who's going to wreck the car every time he gets in it, especially if it happens in a weird way like it did at one race. What happened in Brazil showed why Stroll just needs to stop racing. And with the team getting worse and not understanding why their car has gotten so much slower, it's really painful to watch how they're struggling to get even 1 or 2 points, when people thought they would be fighting for podium spots. Even though they did pretty well in the tricky conditions in Brazil, which saw both of their cars make it to the final part of qualifying, the two Armour 24s crashed, which stopped them from continuing with the qualifying process. But even so, Alonso's speed was nowhere to be found, and Stroll once again made himself the joke of all the racers. And here we are talking about the same problem over and over again. The management of the team, yes, the owner is your father, and instead of being motivated to prove that you have what it takes to drive a Formula One car, that doesn't seem to be happening with Lance at all. He's in a comfortable spot that not many people believe will go away anytime soon because he's been praised as the man that this project has been built around and continues to grow around. But what we're seeing are beginner mistakes and a driver who just isn't made for Formula One cars. And again, Honda and Newey are going to be very tough about this question because they're coming from a winning place like Red Bull, and the last thing they're going to put up with is favoritism in situations like the ones happening in Aston Martin right now. But what's important for Tsunoda, and maybe good news for Stroll, is that Red Bull are reportedly giving him a chance after the last race in Abu Dhabi, as Horner confirmed that the Japanese driver will finally get to drive a Red Bull car where they'll be able to see whether or not he has what it takes to be considered as a replacement for Perez. There's no doubt that Red Bull will think about Tsunoda, but the amount of attention he's getting isn't really convincing that he'll be the one to replace Perez, which is news that Honda and Aston Martin would be smart to pay attention to. Talking about this more, Horner said, "Well, Yuki obviously is a member of the junior team. It's something we have discussed with Honda. We gave Yuki a run up the hill at Goodwood earlier in the year, and that was unexpected. He was the first driver to drive a current Formula One car in an open-face helmet and goggles. He will test the car again in the tire test after the season ends. It's something that's been agreed for quite some time. It will again be good to give him a run, give him the opportunity to work with Red Bull racing engineers and see how he performs in a Red Bull racing car." But again, the attention is more towards Lawson, Colapinto, and maybe even Hajar, who is set to be moved up to racing Bulls if some of the Racing Bulls drivers get moved up to Red Bull. This shows that the future of the Japanese driver and his career path might be similar to the one Gasly followed. This might be a reason why Aston Martin would be smart to go after Yuki Tsunoda, because while he gets emotional and can let tricky situations get the worst out of him, he is at the end of the day a driver who is always scoring points and is now thought of as a real Formula One driver who can lead the team into the good times of podium finishes. Of course, to say that he's championship material is probably going too far at this point, because if that was true, Red Bull wouldn't have wasted time with Perez or talked with Colapinto or even tested Lawson. But at least Tsunoda is a rough diamond that would very likely find a good home in Aston Martin if everything goes well between the Japanese manufacturer and the Silverstone-based team. This is something that has been talked about by Damon Hill, the 1996 world champion, who went on to say, "If I was Tsunoda, I'd be on the phone to Aston Martin because he is Japanese and they've got Honda coming." That can be proven by the fact that Newey has required a lot more responsibility from the team when signing the deal, unlike what people first believed. A sit-back, relaxed role that would have seen him in an advisory role and not involved as much as Ferrari would have wanted him to be. On top of that, Honda is now looking to expand their winning time from Red Bull, although they're very likely to lose the Constructors' Championship to McLaren and Ferrari and be the third fastest constructor on the grid. Although this is more because of Perez's impact and not Honda themselves, as well as the downgrades that Red Bull have suffered from in 2024, it affects Honda and their reputation as well. So, with all this in mind, it would be interesting to see how the situation will change between the Japanese manufacturer and the Silverstone-based team. One thing is for sure, Lawrence Stroll would have to have some very uncomfortable and serious talks with his son because as everything stands, there's just no place for a driver like him if he wants to succeed with his team. The investors are not going to be very happy if they have to deal with a driver who is reckless, has no general knowledge about the car, and won't help them push in the right direction because keep in mind that Newey and Honda are coming with tons of other staff that have massive knowledge and experience in the sport. Again, it's going to be very interesting to see how Lawrence responds to all of these rumors because as everything stands, he is willing to commit to this project with his son. But Honda are pushing for Tsunoda to be promoted to either Red Bull or maybe even Aston Martin as their partnership should strengthen the position of the young Japanese driver. The Austrian team haven't really pushed to sign Tsunoda as they're keen on promoting Lawson or even going to the Williams camp and talking to Colapinto because they are also aware of the situation that Tsunoda is more related to Honda than he is to the team, even though he's under contract with Red Bull. With all this in mind, who do you think will be a proper replacement for Stroll? And more importantly, do you think that his father needs to take him out of the Formula One seat and offer him a seat somewhere else with how the team now desperately needs two strong performing drivers and ones that could get the maximum out of the car? Let us know what you're thinking in the comments below, and if you're interested in someone's fierce response to the FIA and British media critics, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.